What is your greatest fear?
Spiders.
Spiders.
Snakes.
Getting grounded.
My mom.
Rejection, totally. Yeah. I have to have a lot of friends and stuff, and I hate confrontation, fighting.
People basically think about me and stuff. That's and rejection too.
Being rejected?
Not having any friends, being lonely, having no girlfriends, stuff like that.
Scared about failing. Just time in your life you're about to go to college and you just don't know what's going to happen, so I'm pretty terrified about all that.
My biggest fear is drowning.
Having a kid.
My girlfriend's about to have a baby. I'm pretty scared about it. I've been checking my messages because she's due next week.
Right now, I'd say losing my dad because he's my best friend. So, he's in his upper ages now. So I really fear in a few years he's not going to be there for me. And losing my friends in car accidents because apparently that seems to be the popular thing right now and all of them have been in car accidents.
My greatest fear is dying at a young age.
Same with me. Dying.
Dying.
Death, I guess.
Dying. Yeah. Because I don't know where we're gonna go after we die.
The end of the world. I thought a terrorist attack was gonna kill us or something. That was my greatest fear for a while.
Wow, John. Dying seems to be a really common fear with the teens we talk to on the street. Are you afraid of dying?
Well, I'm not really afraid of dying because I'm 18 and I'm going to live my life to the fullest, because if I sit around and worry about dying and if I'm afraid of it, you know what? I'm not living a good life, and I have faith that God has a lot of time for me to go and meet him, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to let him do his bidding.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What's your biggest fear?
I have to agree with the last girl who said that she's afraid of a terrorist attack or nuclear war or something like that, because in this day it seems like something that could actually happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could.
Remember when you were little and you were afraid of the dark?
Everyone is afraid of something. Spiders, heights,
small spaces, snakes.
Psychologists have names for all of these physical fears or phobias, like claustrophobia or arachnophobia.
But there is another set of fears that are much more common to the human experience.
They are emotional or psychological fears that almost every human person experiences in their lifetime.
Fears like those we heard about from the teens on the street in our show's opening.
The fear of being alone, rejection, and death.
How do we overcome these fears?
That is what we will be talking about today on our show, Overcoming Fear. Hi everyone, I'm John.
And I'm Alicia.
And this is Real Faith TV. We will talk again with the teens on the street and with our studio guests.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Bridget, and find out what fears she had to overcome.
My biggest thing would be scary movies. They completely freak me out. And as a child, I was a real scaredy cat. I was terrified of the dark, and I can remember when our room changed, my sister and I's room changed, I used to make my mom sit with us every night for a month or something because I was afraid. I can remember one time being afraid, really, really afraid one night, and just being I can't take this anymore. And so I got up and I went out and I just kind of looked around in the dark and kind of reassured myself that there was nothing there. And after that, it was never as bad. Prayer mainly was really my biggest weapon as far as movies and stuff goes. It started out with the rosary actually, and praying to my guardian angels. But it was mainly the rosary. I can just remember yelling inside my head just help me. I can remember babysitting one time, and this little kid was just, I can't go to sleep because I'm scared, and I was oh my gosh, and I just told him, he was I've tried everything, and I was just well, did you try praying? And he was oh yeah, I tried that, and I was are you sure? He's a little kid or whatever, and so I said, why don't you try praying? And I think that after that, he never came out again. He had kept on coming out of his room, are my parents home yet? And I think after that, he had fallen asleep, actually.
It's great that Bridget was able to help other people with their fears when she found out how to overcome hers.
Once you learn how to overcome your fears, you can spread it along like the knowledge, because it's not really that hard. Let's see what kinds of fears our guests have.
Okay, let's meet them. They are Powell, Beth, Vanessa, Bryce, Nicole, and Sarah.
All right, guys, what's your greatest fear?
I know my personal greatest fear is not my own death, but my family's death. Like, I remember when I was little, my parents went out late to eat or something like that. I'd be up to 12 o'clock in the morning screaming at my brother, "Where are they? Where are they? They're not home yet." And he'd be like, "Calm down, they're just fine." And I thought they were in an accident, and they really weren't. I was just worried about them.
My biggest fear is probably like being used. I have a really hard time becoming like close friends with people. It takes me a long time to build up a relationship, and I have a wall before I can let people get close to me because I just have a fear that they're going to act like they're my friend and then not really be and end up hurting me.
I think that's a fear that I have also, of getting hurt. Like, I think, like you don't want to really put yourself out there, especially if you've been hurt in the past, because you don't know if you can like trust that person,
My greatest fear is definitely like being completely alone in like a desolate area with no one to talk to and no one to like interact with. I would hate that.
But you always have God there too. You can remember that whenever you're alone, you can always talk to Him.
I know, but people are always good too.
Yeah, I won't deny that. Yeah, it's nice to have another person there. But if you don't, you always have Him to turn to.
I agree.
I know my biggest fear is spiders. Like if I see a spider, I just walk in the other direction because I don't know, they just freak me out.
Yeah, they freak me out too. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I think everyone's a little bit afraid of them. Yeah.
I think that one of my biggest fears is the tension around the world between countries and peoples and the ways that it forces them to kind of arm themselves so heavily to the point that we have so many weapons on this earth that hopefully we'll never use, but we have enough to blow up the world like 5 times or something like that. And just the fact that countries are pushed to the point of brinkmanship where they have nuclear weapons that could wipe out millions and millions of people, with the push of one button. I think that that is one of the most frightening things, something that certainly has changed since the time of Jesus, but something that we're faced with as, Christians, just dealing with that and the fact that we're at that point where people just are so against each other. I think that that really frightens me because I don't know if we can ever achieve that peace.
Especially after seeing something like September 11th, like you know that it can happen to us now, like I don't know, it just made a situation like that all more real in my eyes.
Yeah, but you see, I was afraid of that too, but then I realized I can't worry about something that I can't control.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't put yourself in a situation where you're losing sleep and always worried over nuclear war and stuff. It's out of my control. I can't stop it. I could pray to God to, give our leaders and the leaders of the other countries in the world the guidance and strength to make the right decisions and, get rid of these terrible weapons, but we can't worry about that kind of stuff. And we have to worry about like hunger and who's not eating in my town. That's what I worry about.
Yeah, exactly. That's like my biggest fear, to have a war like on your home front, like right outside your backyard.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah, and all the people suffering and just all the like maladies and.
Yeah, but that's a sad reality for many people. So, we're lucky to live in a country like we do.
Some fears we grow out of as we mature.
Some stay with us and affect our choices as young adults.
Fears can make us feel uneasy or suspicious around other people.
We can experience nervous butterflies or feel very sick in threatening situations.
Fears often lead us to avoid taking risks or keep us from trying new things.
And in the extreme, these fears can paralyze us from any kind of choice at all and keep us from becoming who God is calling us to be.
There are different ways of dealing with our feelings, including the feeling of fear.
Bridget mentioned prayer, and that is definitely a big one to help deal with the big-time fears.
What are some other ways teens deal with their fears?
That is what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
When I'm feeling kind of afraid, I usually go over to my girlfriend's house or go to the gym and spend time with some friends.
I just try to be calm, stay quiet.
I just chill out and take time to myself, go down to the beach or something.
When I'm in a situation, maybe like let out some anger.
Sometimes I scream, I cry. I close my eyes.
I close my eyes and just think about it.
I don't think about it. I don't really do anything. I don't really talk about it. I just sit there pretty much. Like I talk to people about it mostly. I talk to my friends and sometimes my parents with some situations. I just talk to my friends. They usually comfort me. That's basically it.
I talk to my parents about it, and sometimes, like, my friends. I leave, like, I go to somebody's house.
Run away. I know it's the worst way, but sometimes you just can't deal with it, so.
Usually I run away, but like this time it's kind of too big to run away from because there's baby involved, but pretty much anything else I just turn around and run.
I just go sit in my room and just listen to music.
I usually like play guitar or just like hang out with my friends, play video games.
I usually put it through like words or, song. I write, play music. I go out for drives if something's really, bothering me with my fears. Just something to get away from everything else.
I actually use a lot of their suggestions, like when I get really angry. I like driving and I like, just listening to some music, and it makes me calm down, and when I'm like afraid or like angry, and it really works.
I know what you mean. Sometimes it really depends on the fear. Friends can help you see that you are not the only one feeling the way you do, because most of them feel that way too sometimes.
And when you don't feel like sharing your fear with a friend, you can listen to music or write about it in a journal.
What about you guys? What do you do to overcome your fears?
Well, sometimes you just have to face your fears. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I used to be afraid of feet. I still don't like them. I think they're really gross, but I used to be like afraid of them. So my friends and I, we used to always play that Nintendo game Mario Kart, and I was really bad at it. So they would finish the race, and then they would put their feet on top of me until I finished, and they would not take them off. And so I just got used to like having these nasty feet on me, and so I wasn't really afraid of it anymore.
That's a little weird, but I think it works. Yeah. As long as you overcame your fear.
And I did. Yeah, it's good that you faced it, because a lot of the teens on the street said that they run away from it. And sometimes if it's something dangerous, like I guess if you're afraid of lions and you're face to face with one, then you should run away. But for other things like dealing with people or being in confrontation, things like that, I think that if you deal with it, you know that you have the strength of God, on your side to give you courage. So I think that in some cases you should deal with it.
I know, and it's such a cliche to face your fears, but it really does work. I used to really be afraid of spiders, and then I lived on the boat during the summer, and there would be these huge monstrous spiders, and I just had to get over it because I had to kill them, and I couldn't run away anymore. They were gonna take over my boat.
I used to be afraid of the dark too, and so eventually I just kind of kept shutting my door at night. Every night I would get closer and closer to closing my door until it was completely black. And then I just got used to it. So I think it's slowly, take slow steps in conquering your fears, but you need to confront them.
Yep. I was really afraid of driving after I got in my big accident. I totaled my car, and I never thought I'd be able to drive again because I was just so scared. Not of hurting myself, but what my parents would do if the insurance went up anymore. That's what I was more worried about. But, it took some time, and I was kind of running away from it. I was bumming rides off my friends, and I had a car, so I should have been driving. And I actually had a talk with my dad about it, and he told me that it's okay if I get another accident, that he'd still love me and it wouldn't be a problem. And I started driving again, and I'm not afraid anymore. So
I know, with you guys, I have to face my fears too, because like I said, I have a huge fear of spiders. So I started babysitting this summer, and the kids, they're so afraid of spiders, so I have to be the big tough one. When we go onto the playground, I have to take down all the spider webs and stuff, and it kills me because I hate spiders, but it makes them look up to me. So if you have that motivation to overcome your fears, it really helps.
What's the big deal with spiders? Why were we all so afraid of them?
I'm not really afraid of spiders. They just kind of skeeve me.
Yeah, we're a lot bigger than them, so you shouldn't be that afraid.
They eat flies. So.
It was that movie. That's what made me.
Arachnophobia.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about prayer helping with overcoming fears.
Let's go back to our teens on the street and ask them if they think their faith helps them in any way to face or overcome their fears.
Does your faith ever help you to deal with your fears?
Just recently it has, actually. My grandma got me going to church there a little bit more and starting to get more interested in it.
I actually don't have a religion of any sort, but I do believe in God, and if I'm not comforted by my friends, I believe that He will watch over us and protect us.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty much all that helps me with my fears.
Just asking God to help me in whatever I need the most.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, because
you know that someone's always watching over you, making sure everything's going to be okay.
Does your faith help you out when you face your fears?
Definitely. You got no faith, it's like, what do you have, you know?
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, Bridget, and find out what advice she has for facing our fears.
And how her faith also helps her with this.
I think it's important to face your fears. Like, people always say, you know, like, stand up to your fears, like, but it really is true. Like, as far as being afraid of the dark, like, I went out and I faced the dark, and that helped me to conquer my fear. And, like, I don't know, like, simple fears also, like, going to a new school. When I went to high school, like, I came from Catholic school, and so, but there was nothing I could do about it, so I was kind of forced to face it. But just, you know, not being afraid and just saying, all right, I'm gonna do it, like, go in there, be yourself. I think it's really important to face them. Totally trusting that everything's in God's hands is really important. Because once you do that, like, you know that anything that happens, like, because of Him. And so, like, as long as you truly believe that everything's in His hands, you really don't have anything to fear. And if you really try your hardest to follow Him as your shepherd, like, He's not going to lead you in the wrong direction. Just remember that, like, nothing on earth is really that bad, and the worst thing that could ever happen is for you to go to hell. So as long as you do God's will, then you're in good shape, and, like, if God is for you, who could be against you? And prayer really is the ultimate weapon. Like, it has led me to a point where I really don't have much fear anymore. Like, little things that used to frighten me don't affect me anymore.
Is it all through prayer and through your faith?
Mostly. Some with age, but mostly grown stronger with my faith, I guess. It's just strengthened me so that I'm not afraid anymore.
If you are able to do some things that are scary for you at first, they become easier as time goes on.
Fear loses its power to control you because you know that even if things don't work out the way you want them to, it's not the end of the world.
And even if it was the end of the world, we still have nothing to fear.
So guys, how does your faith help you to overcome your fear?
Like, I know through prayer I especially use this one prayer called Angel of God, and I use it before I go to bed or whenever I'm afraid. It goes like this: Angel of God, my guardian dear, from whom God love commits thee here, ever this night be at my side, to light and guide and rule and guard and love. Amen. And like, if you listen to every single word of it, helps me. Mm-hmm. And it helps you let you know that God's there for you, and that there's angels and guardians there for you too.
Mm-hmm. And we really just have to, like, trust. Like, I know that Bridget said that, but a lot of times, like, when we were talking about, like, nuclear war, like, all that stuff, like, that's something that we have no control over. So you just have to pray and trust God that, you know, everything happens for a reason, and that, you know, everything will work out.
Mm-hmm. And I think for, like, the little fears, like Beth was talking about feet before, like the physical fears, like, I think a lot of times you could just pray to God for, like, the courage to go and face them, because I think, like, facing them is really, like, a good way, you know, to overcome them. But I think if you pray for courage, God can help you, you know, actually take that step and that initiative.
It's important to remember, too, that God will always be with you. I think it's like 80 times or something like that in the Bible, they say, do not be afraid, because God is always with you. I
heard that too.
Yeah.
And remember, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Really, what does that mean?
I understand what you're talking about, though. Like, that is a good quote, because if you think about, you know, if we were paying attention to fear so much, we'd be like sitting in a little room by ourselves, like, you know, not getting out, doing anything, you know, doing anything with our lives. We'd just be stuck in a room, afraid of everything, in our own, like, secluded little box. So.
Like, Franklin Roosevelt said that when it was during the Depression, and it was a really, really hard time for everybody, the entire country. And it shows that you need to stay strong even in the worst times.
And when you're afraid, you can always ask God for the courage to get through it, but you can also not be afraid to ask other people for help, because there are some, various fears. And some of them are fears like, I don't like speaking in front of people, or I don't like going somewhere by myself. And then there are fears like fears of spiders that are kind of pathological, and you can go to somebody for help with that. You can talk to people, you can talk to other people that might have had the same problem, maybe form a support group or a prayer group even, to kind of overcome that fear together. So never be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, you have to ask people for help, but you also have to face your fears one-on-one. That's the only way to really truly defeat them.
Yeah, I know it's hard sometimes to face our fears. Like I was at the boardwalk once with my friends, and they wanted me to go on an upside-down roller coaster, and I was deathly afraid of them. So my friend's like, well, my dad will come with us. So I was like, well, I guess if he's gonna do it, I guess I could try it. And I went on, and I got, the restraint was put on, and all of a sudden his dad's like, oh, not doing it. I was like, what? No? And I had to go on it, and it was actually a lot of fun. And then the same thing happened like 3 months later with my friend, and he didn't want to do it, so I just told him, trust me, it's a lot of fun. And sometimes our fears can actually turn into really fun things, so we got to learn from our lessons that we need to overcome our fears.
Right, a lot of times our fears hold us back. Again, nothing's a fear but fear itself. Like if he was afraid of roller coasters, he didn't get to experience that, or swimming. A lot of times we don't know how fun something can be until we try it, and our fears are holding us back.
We should, oh, I'm sorry, Beth. Go.
Like last summer, my friend passed away in a car accident, and I had my permit, but after her accident, I didn't want to drive for a really long time. And, it's sort of like the saying, you got to get back on the horse. And so eventually, I had to drive again, and now I do. And again, it's like another good experience. Like if I had never gotten over that fear, then my mom would still be driving me everywhere.
Yeah, I used to be like...
Oh, jeez, everyone. Go ahead, pal.
Do you want to go?
No, it's okay. Yeah.
I used to be deadly afraid of horses, because once at camp I had this little pony, and they wanted to teach me how to ride, but he just didn't listen, and he just I think he ran away or something. So last month I went to a horse range, and I finally learned. It was amazing.
Good.
I liked it.
We have to live our lives to the fullest. We're young people, and even older people out there. You can't let fear just hold you, and you can't let it control your life. God gave us all these amazing things to experience: swimming, horses, feet, everything. So many great things out there that you can miss if you're afraid. So you just gotta take your life back, beat back fear.
And like we said before, it says do not be afraid 80 times in the Bible. And sometimes the Bible can be intimidating. It's just this big book and you don't know where to start. But I know sometimes when I'm afraid, what I do is I sit down with the Bible and I just take it and I open it and I let it randomly fall wherever it will fall. And then I read whatever page it opened to. And I find that usually when I'm afraid of something, if I open it, I come to some fear about some psalm about safety or about fear or about something like that. And I know that that's God's personal answer to me, that I can just read this passage and be comforted and know and see in writing that He's there for me and He's there to protect me.
So guys, Alicia likes praying to help her, calm her fear down. What about you guys? Can you think of any examples when prayer has helped you overcome a fear?
I know for me, just obviously praying all the time and about if you have a specific fear, but there are times that all of a sudden I'll just be overcome by fear of whatever, and I usually like to say the St. Michael prayer, and that always immediately calms me down, and I'm just okay, everything will be all right, that really helps me out.
I know prayer is really soothing, and a couple years ago I was in the ocean and there was this huge jellyfish and it stung the kid next to me, so of course I ran out and I would not go back for the rest of the day. And then we would go back time and time again to the ocean, and I loved it. It was my favorite thing to do, but I would not go in. I was terrified. So I sat up by the dunes and I just prayed, and it was really comforting. So then I went into the ocean because I knew God was watching over me, and so I went in and nothing bothered me. There were no jellyfish anymore, and it was just a great experience because now I go back to the ocean every summer and it's great.
Mm-hmm. I know right now there are a lot of patient saints for just about everything that you can do. So I think finding the patient state of something that you're afraid of can also help you out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I agree with, I don't know who said it, but someone on the Man on the Street interviews talking about college. And I know, I'm heading off to school in the city, and it's really intimidating thinking about, going from this little tiny town to this huge city. And I think prayer helps me a lot, in overcoming my fear of, stepping ahead and taking the next step in life, and I don't know, kind of just getting out there and doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
Once you take that step, you'll have nothing to fear anymore.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, a lot of times there's fear of the future, like just of not knowing what's going to happen, or like.
I used to fear future, but then like the fear of the future. I'm sorry, but then I realized, you know what? I'm taking all the fun out of it. The future could be the best days of my life, and I don't know what I'm going to experience next, and I really want to live my life to the fullest. It's a very important part of living a good, healthy life, and God would want us to do that.
And anything in the world that you can imagine that you could come up against, just picture it next to God. Whatever it is, God probably created it. I mean, God created everything, so He did. And God can, just lead you down a path to avoid the things that you're afraid of, that are dangerous to you. But the things that aren't dangerous, the things that we're held back from, that we might enjoy otherwise, God can help us to overcome that fear. So just picture whatever it is next to God, and just realize that whatever it is, you're bigger than that because you have God inside of you and God on your side. So you can get past it.
That's a really good way to get past it.
Yep.
Teens who are able to rely on their relationship with God speak of finding the strength to act in the face of fear.
From prayer, reading scripture, and being active in a faith community, they have a sense of reassurance that God will watch out for them.
They have a strong resolve to do the right thing, even when others are making different choices.
Some people think that the opposite of fear is bravery, but Jesus showed us that the opposite of fear is love.
Jesus experienced failure, rejection, ridicule, condemnation, betrayal, loneliness, and death.
But through it all, He did not fear because the love of God was stronger than all of these things.
Jesus was able to make decisions in love, not from fear.
And He showed us how to overcome fear and live in perfect love.
Do you have a story to share about overcoming fear?
Tell us about it by writing to us on our website.
The address is realfaithtv.com.
Or you can contact us by phone at 609-406-7402.
And when you are afraid, remember this from Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10.
So do not fear, for I am with you.
Do not be dismayed, for I am your God.
I will strengthen you and help you.
I will uphold you with my righteous hand.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time
on Real Faith TV. God bless.